So the question of today's video is the market shifting? What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, Mortgages with Mike Z. If you're new to the channel, the main objective is to help homeowners and prospective home buyers better understand and navigate through the home buying process with a heavier emphasis on the mortgage and financing aspects of the process. Now, as I said, the topic of this video is going to be talking about what's going on with the housing market. Now, you might be someone that's been on the sidelines trying to wait until things kind of settle, waiting for the dust to settle, and you're just kind of overwhelmed, confused, and don't know what to do. The reality of it is there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of clickbaity stuff out there that's kind of pumped by mainstream media to really get clicks, right? But if you actually read some of the articles, you kind of see that the title is just to grab your attention, which is why it's clickbait. In reality, it's actually not as bad as it seems. So the question that I asked is the market shifting? And simply put, yes, the market is starting to shift, and we're starting to see more of a balance, if you will. Meaning, for buyers, I think this is good news because now you might actually have a chance, if not definitely a better chance than you had just a few months ago, definitely a year and a half ago, right? Now, if you're in the real estate industry, if you've been trying to buy for quite some time, or even if you recently finally settled on a home, you're well aware how chaotic and how ultra competitive and just flat out crazy the housing market has been. You've probably seen the news, right? I mean, over the past year or so, we've seen record-setting home price appreciation. And really, this has been fueled by not only lower interest rates, but also there being so much buyer demand and not nearly enough housing inventory to support that demand. So what happens is you're getting bidding wars left and right, driving prices up and up and up. People are waiving appraisal contingencies, inspection contingencies, covering transfer taxes, so on and so forth, doing whatever they possibly can in their power in order to get their bid accepted. So, as you can imagine, this is challenging for the average home buyer because you can only do so much. Especially if you're a first-time home buyer, the odds really aren't in your favor. So some of the stats I'm going to share here today that were published by Redfin, I think is really positive news and definitely worth sharing. And kind of, I think, hopefully give you some reassurance to get back into the game, if you will, and ultimately find the house that you were originally looking for. The one thing that Redfin tracks is the bidding war rate. So for the month of June, that bidding war rate was 50%. Now, that may seem high. You might really not sure if it seems low or high. So I want to kind of provide some context. So that 50% is actually the lowest it's been in 2 years. So, during pre-pandemic levels. And if we're comparing it year over year, in June of 2021, that same bidding war rate was 65%. So it's a significant decline, which in turn is positive news for buyers, right? Less bids, less competition, more likely you are to not only find a home, but also not pay significantly more than the listing price and also have to sacrifice waiving inspections and all these other contingencies. You might be asking, well, why is the bidding war rate dropping so much? Is this a sign of a housing crash to come? Again, I'm seeing all these different clickbaity articles and videos, and that's kind of what they're insinuating. And I personally don't believe that, right? Now, just like a quick kind of nugget, like this market that we're experiencing is a complete reversal of what happened in the early 2000s, right? We didn't have, not only did we not have the imbalance in supply demand, right? So currently, we don't have enough inventory to support the amount of buyer demand that we have. Additionally, and a big piece of this is mortgage mortgage as a whole is much more regulated and monitored now than it was back then. In the early 2000s, there was a lot of really just shady and dirty tactics and programs that were offered. It was just a lot of greed, and that was a big component of why we saw what happened, in 2007, 2008, right? So I just want to kind of throw that out there. It's a completely different landscape today than it was then. So to kind of give you my thoughts on why the bidding rate or the bidding war rate has come down a bit, I think number one, because of the misinformation and a lot of the clickbaity headlines, there's a lot of fear being pumped in by the mainstream media. So I think it's causing a lot of people to second guess. They're getting a little nervous. They want to just take some time and wait till the dust settles and then make a decision from there. The other reason we're seeing less bidding wars is because of rising home prices, rising interest rates, record-setting inflation, stock portfolios plummeting. All these things, when you put them together, it's scaring a lot of folks out there, right? They're seeing this domino effect, and the reality of it is they want to kind of sit back, hang tight, and wait for these things to get better. And I get it, that's natural, it makes sense. But the other reason too is it's just simply pricing people out. Now that prices of homes are more expensive, interest rates are higher, right? Your monthly payment's a lot higher, your out-of-pocket cost is going to be so much higher. So houses that you were once pre-approved for a few months ago, a year ago, today it's probably not the case. But overall, the fact that we are seeing less bidding wars, it is a great opportunity for buyers to get back into the market, because after I spoke with several buyers, right, and a lot of them are just kind of taking a break or have been on the sidelines for a couple of months just because they kind of got fed up. They're like, our offer's not getting accepted. This is just crazy. I don't want to pay that much. We're just kind of discouraged now, and all those points are valid. But now that we're seeing much more softening in the market, it's a good opportunity for buyers to kind of step back in to the fire, if you will, because it's much more likely now for these offers to get accepted than it was just a few months ago. The other statistic that Redfin published also for the month of June was the cancellation rate for real estate contracts that were under contract was 14.9%. Just like the bidding war statistic, this was the highest that the cancellation rate has been in 2 years. Now, again, people might think that's a bad thing, but in reality, it's more just normalization coming back into the market. I'm going to get into a couple reasons of why I think we saw more cancellations in the month of June, and probably will continue to, or at least see similar to that 14.9% cancellation rate. Obviously, there weren't a lot of cancellations during like the height of the market where there was so much competition, because it was taking prospective home buyers so much time to eventually find a house. So once they finally got their bid accepted and pinched themselves to make sure it was real life, there was no way that they were going to jeopardize losing that home, because they just put way too much time and energy and effort into their housing search. There wasn't going to be anything that kind of stood in their way from getting to the closing table, right? So why all of a sudden are we seeing more cancellations? So I think there's a few reasons, right? I think number one, again, not to sound like a broken record, but because of a lot of the clickbait and just kind of negativity that's being pumped by the mainstream media, it's just simply scaring people, and they're kind of backing out because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And that's unfortunate, but it's reality, because there is a lot of speculation. No one has a crystal ball. So when you hear, so-called experts or, anyone that or trust calling for like a housing crash or a recession, you hear these terms being thrown around, and you just become very, very nervous and scared, and you're going to start rethinking whether or not it's a smart and right time to buy a home. So I think that's one reason. Number two, because we're seeing less competition and more buyers getting their offers accepted, they're now able to make more normal offers. And what I mean by more normal offers is they can say, I want a home inspection contingency. I want an appraisal contingency, right? So when we're having inspections, it's more likely, right, for things to come up, and it's another reason why you can back out of a contract. Because when you're waiving inspections, you're not having a licensed inspector come and assess the house to ensure that there's nothing significant or at least something worth knowing that could jeopardize the deal. So when you're having those inspections, the pure, the reality is you're giving yourself another opportunity to back out of the deal. So I definitely think that's another reason why we're seeing more cancellations. I personally have seen this myself, right? People are having inspections, stuff comes up on the inspection report that they don't like, they back out. That's just kind of normal, for the lack of a better word. And another reason is, and I think this was kind of always the case, but it's always worth mentioning, and it's definitely something that plays into cancellations, is from the mortgage side of things. So if you're not working with someone that's diligent and talking to you, the client, on a regular basis, you have to make sure that they are updating your pre-approval as interest rates are rising, as home prices are rising, as your financials or income are changing, right? Because if we spoke a few months ago and I pre-approved you, a lot can happen between now and then. So when you're working with online lenders or just someone in general maybe that's not super diligent, the reality of it is, if they're not updating your pre-approval based upon what the interest rates are today and based upon the home prices relative to the markets that you're looking in, and they use that old pre-approval and you get your offer accepted and then they go look at the numbers because they didn't do that extra legwork, the reality of it is you're going to have to cancel that contract, because if you have a mortgage contingency, which you likely do, you no longer qualify for the mortgage. So I don't think that's the biggest driver, but I think it's one thing to always be mindful of, especially when you're in a market like this. There's a lot of volatility. Rates significantly jump from the beginning of the year until now, as well as home prices. It's going to definitely impact your affordability and your overall buying power. Now, in the end, we still have a long way to go until we have, a so-called equalized market for both buyers and sellers, right? So it does depend on your market. I'm still seeing some buyers getting outbid by several offers, where others are getting their offer accepted in the first go around and have, the standard contingencies included within their contract. So some of it's definitely luck. I think that will always play a role, but the moral of the story is we are headed in the right direction. And from a national average standpoint, we are seeing things kind of be in the best interest and benefit buyers, especially more so than it was just a short while ago. So again, this is good for buyers because there's less competition and more options, right? If there's houses staying on the market longer, they don't have to try to see 10 houses in an hour span, right? Because the house was going up on a Friday and it was closed, or house was going up on a Friday and it was under contract on a Monday. So if houses are staying on the market longer, there's less competition. You have more of a chance to view homes, submit bids on homes, and have your offer accepted. So that it's definitely a good thing for buyers. So to kind of put a bow on all of this, yes, we are definitely seeing the market shifting in favor of buyers. And if you're someone that's been waiting on the sidelines because you don't know what's going on and you're just nervous, it might be a good idea to at least start up the conversation again, and definitely speak with a local expert, right? Because I think at the end of the day, it's going to depend on what your goals are, what your plans are. It's not just always a black and white decision, right? It's a good time or bad time. It really depends on what is a good time for you, right? Is it a good time for you? That's what's most important. So always have that conversation. Don't just shut the door because of what you've been seeing, reading, or hearing. Have the conversation because we are seeing a shift in the market, and there is more opportunity for buyers to finally have more of an even playing field, or a level playing field. So I hope you found value in this video. Again, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Always a big help when you do so greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.